Free plugins sometimes feel like a dime a dozen, but the ones I picked for you today offer unique timbres and innovative designs and could definitely save you some money, especially one plugin in particular, which I'm going to cover later on. So let's look at 12 amazing and free vocal plugins. Starting off, we have A-Tone by Analog Obsession. A quick side note, none of these are sponsored or placements or anything like that. Now, if you like free plugins, you've heard of Analog Obsession. Their new plugin, A-Tone, is a vintage channel strip with a lot of character. It doesn't take much input before you'll notice enjoyable breakup and distortion indicative of older consoles. We have some smooth 3-band EQ and a surprisingly versatile compressor for how simple it is. Let's listen to it on some vocals. We'll use an unprocessed vocal track for the demos, but for transparency, some parallel compression was used during tracking. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Next we have Transpanner 2.0 by Artists in DSP. Now if your DAW doesn't have binaural panning, this is a fantastic pay-what-you-like option. The plugin uses EQ, reflections, delay, and other cues to create the sense of a vocal being in the front, to the listener's left, the right, and back. Using it is super simple. You drag the point to the position that you'd like and compensate for the gain changes. Now this is probably not the best plugin for a lead vocal, but it will definitely come in handy for doubles, triples, and other BGVs. I'll never know what I've never known. Next, let's take a look at Memory and Origin, both by Cymatics. So these two plugins are perfect for a lo-fi lead vocal, or if you want your BGVs to fit right into the mids of a mix. Memory emulates tape hysteresis, or memory, but includes some of the other artifacts that are associated with tape, like frequency and amplitude modulation. Now personally, I enjoy it set to subtle settings with doubling enabled to create a mild chorus effect. Origin is one of the better vintage lo-fi emulations I've come across, mainly because it doesn't limit you to analog or digital lo-fi. It allows for variable sampling rates, which sounds classic when the filtering's enabled, but if you turn those off, you can get some noticeable aliasing distortion. The saturation sounds great, and it can be switched between tube and traditional drive. Noise could be introduced, which seems pretty standard, but there are a lot of options from cassette to vinyl to reel-to-reel. I prefer the doubling effect of the Memory plugin to this plugin's chorus, but let's take a listen to them back to back to get a good idea of what they do. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Up next we have Color EQ, Tube Preamp, and Endless, all by DDMF. So Color EQ is a simple 6-band parametric EQ, but with the addition of these Type B filters that work in tandem with an extra shaping function to create curves that aren't possible with other minimum phase EQs. Tube Preamp is a unique take on tube distortion since it lets you alter the various emulated components, which alters the frequency response, the timbre, ADSR, and more, all while learning how resistors and capacitors affect voltage across a circuit. But more importantly, it sounds great and it offers a lot of flexibility. Last up by DDMF, we have Endless, a truly unique reverb that creates a feedback loop for the reflections, resulting in completely unrealistic reverb times. Some cool features include variable width, an octave pitch shift effect with the sparkle dial, and general detuning. Also, the bypass is a kill switch for the reflections, which helps a lot when you're adjusting the settings and you don't want previous reflections to make that difficult. So let's take a listen to these 3 plugins enabled one after the other. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. If you're new to Sage Audio, watch until the end to get access to the only all-in-one membership platform that makes your mixes sound like professional songs. Next, let's talk about M-Wave Shaper by Melda Audio. So this one is included with a huge bundle of free plugins from the company. You could either use this plugin or the M compressor set to custom shape to introduce some wave shaping. Now, I've been using this in tandem with compression on vocals to bring up quieter details without the need for more peak-down attenuation. You could use this plugin to create completely destructive distortion, but with subtle settings, it creates a very pleasant boost to a vocal's low amplitude range. Let's take a listen and notice how the vocals details are easier to hear. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Next is Spot On by 6Sample. So this is by far the best sounding free vocal tuner plugin I've ever heard. The operation is simple: enable the notes that you want it tuned to and adjust the amount and the speed. Now, varying the speed and the amount doesn't degrade the audio quality, making this the first free vocal tuner where blending in the effect doesn't result in noticeable phase cancellation. At the highest settings, you could achieve the classic auto-tune sound, but this plugin has a surprisingly natural sound at lower settings. Now, honestly, I'd recommend this plugin over Auto-Tune's Access Tuner. Let's take a listen to it. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Let's take a look at Air Music by Sound Particles. So this is a very simple plugin, but it's a cool idea nonetheless. In short, the developers combined high-frequency attenuation with overall attenuation to mimic how distance affects the perception of a sound source. So basically, this plugin is a shortcut for the multiple points of automation that you'd have to create with a regular EQ to recreate the nonlinear relationship between distance, amplitude, and high frequencies. Using this for sound design makes the most sense, but I found automating the distance dial to be a fantastic sounding fade-out to any sound source. Let's take a listen. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Second to last, we have T-Saturator by Techovation. Although it's still a long way off, this is the closest a free plugin has come to FabFilter's Saturn II, mainly due to the variable distortion types and harmonic panning. The sound is great, but the ability to pan distortion to the mids, the sides, or a combination of the two makes this so much more useful. If you want to add some grit to the vocal's reverb reflections, you could add this after the reverb and introduce mild saturation to the side image. Or maybe you want the vocal to have a powerful center and stick out in the mix. You could place this on a vocal bus and pan the saturation to the mid image with a tube saturation setting. Now, it's simple for sure, but being able to pan harmonics, especially between the mid and the side images, opens up a lot of possibilities. Let's take a listen to it on the vocal after introducing some reverb. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. Last up, we have ZL Equalizer, which looks to be an open source project on GitHub. So this one is definitely amazing. It's a combination of the Pro Q3 and Kirchhoff EQ, but of course for free. Now it offers up to 16 bands, all of which could be made dynamic and triggered by the frequency range, a different internal frequency range, or from the external sidechain. The attenuation could be peak, RMS, or a combination, and look-ahead is even included. Collision or masking detection between the internal signal and a sidechain signal, like the Pro Q3, is available and is impressively accurate. We have 9 different filter types, with variable slopes and stereo placements, including stereo, left, right, mid, or side. There's automatic gain compensation, band soloing, and a lot more. So if you've been holding off on buying the Pro Q3 or the Kirchhoff EQ, waiting for a free alternative, this is definitely it. So let's take a listen with the dynamic bands enabled. I'll never know what I've never known. Let it go, float on the ocean, coasting till the sun shows. I will, I won't. I've tried countless options to improve my mixes and they always fell short. That's why we created the Sage Audio membership. It's the only all-in-one platform that makes your mixes sound like professional songs. The membership includes unlimited mixing feedback, direct one-on-one mentorship, in-depth mixing and mastering courses, 50 free mastered songs per year, and a lot more. Every day, I see huge wins for members noticing a massive improvement in their mixes after joining. Watch the free membership video with the link in the description.